here we go. So we've got a full-packed agenda. The nice thing about this track is we have less speakers, so we're able to deep dive a bit more into some of the mobility use cases. We've got Jimmy Michelle from Pilsen, who's going to talk to us about the Pilsen digital twin experience. They may be a small city, but they're definitely punching above their weight in Europe. So it would be great to understand, how they've gone from data visualization to actually implementing digital twins. We've got Anna Georgieva from Sofia Municipality who's going to talk to us about crowdsourcing data and how that can be used to plug gaps in information. And we've got Alessandro from Cyprus, from Italy, who's going to talk to us about the open data mobility platform. So my name is Susie Resta-Macalia. I'm from a company called 21C, and I'm part of the Duet project. So I work with Jerry and with Leven, who you may have seen in the previous plenary session. I've worked on the fringes of smart mobility, I think, for the last 10 years. So I'm personally very interested to learn more about the different use cases within this session, and I hope you are too. Any questions you have around our speakers' content, please make a note of them. We're going to go through the presentations first, and then we're going to open up the floor to debate. So yes, Julie, I'm going to give the floor to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Susie. I'll just share my screen and I'll start straight away. Do you see my screen well?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I do see it, Susie.
Oh, brilliant.
And do you see the full screen?
I see it now. Yeah.
The title slide. Okay.
Perfect.
So I hope it's fine for everyone. So thanks for the introduction. I'm here today to talk about the Pilsen digital twin achievements, and then share what we have been doing in Duet, and not only in Duet, but also in other projects. So just to start with, I would like to mention that Duet Digital, or the digital twin of Pilsen, is part of many smart city initiatives in the Pilsen. We have almost 50 different projects that go through different domains, ranging from mobility, environment, e-government, and many more. So the digital twin is actually something where many of these different projects meet in terms of data exchange or sharing and people usage. How we started, actually, it has been quite a long journey. We started already as being an external pilot in the Open Transport Net project from 2014 to 2017, where we started experimenting with traffic and traffic modeling, traffic modeler tool for basically online simulations of traffic. Then it continued in Polyvisu project, where we were already a partner. And there we focused on analyzing traffic, bringing together different traffic data sources, and then doing simulations of traffic to support policymaking. And that brought us further to the current projects that we have, Duet and S4All Cities. Duet is, that's what I'm going to show you today, and is focusing on simulations across multiple interconnected domains. And then we also are involved in S4All Cities, where we are working on a digital twin of a smaller site, a football stadium, and then focusing on simulations for crisis management purposes. When it comes to our strengths in our smart city and digital twin journey, what was important and of a great importance was the political support that this agenda has in the city. I think that's something which we couldn't do these projects without. Smart city is an agenda which is approved officially by the city council and supported by few members of the city council. We also, as an IT organization or IT administration of a city, which is a separate organization, we have a very technically skilled personnel, and we also have a very advanced technical infrastructure which we manage for the city, ranging from optical cables network, public Wi-Fi, LoRaWAN network, and many more infrastructures. We are also running a city-owned UAV department, which is using the state-of-the UAVs to support, for example, the integrated rescue system, but also to create 3D models of different sites or locations. So quite a diverse use for our drones that we are operating here. When it comes to data, what we are using or experimenting with, there are many different domains, of course. Mobility has always been a priority, and that's where we started with a couple of, or maybe almost 10 years ago. So we open data from traffic detectors, which there is roughly 1,000 sensors in the city at the traffic lights, which we now have access to real time and help us monitor and manage the traffic. Next to that, we have, of course, information on public transport lines about the location of the vehicles and their delay, also in real time. There is a traffic model that simulates or allows to predict future scenarios. We have a shared bike service where we also have access to the currently available bikes. We have car sharing service, which is operated by the city public transportation company. There is city operated CCTV camera network. We have more than, I think, 250 cameras throughout the city, which are typically used for traffic management and security monitoring. But recently we have been experimenting quite a lot and focusing a lot on testing many different softwares for video analytics for different purposes. For example, counting traffic, modal split, like identifying pedestrians, cyclists, cars, trucks in the video footage, including the directions where they go and where from they go. But not only for example, also there is we are experimenting with a tool which provides alerts when some car stops on the tram line in the city. Or in the security domain, we are experimenting with video analytics that can re-identify a person which might be suspected from a certain offense or crime in multiple camera streams. So that's a tool that is very, of course, interesting for police and law enforcement agencies here. So that's a kind of innovative use of the traditional data source, let's say, that and there are many different softwares. So we spent last 2 years really testing several of these for different purposes and to see what is best for our usage. We also have experimented with telco, mobile telco data, with air quality data, installing some sensors, benchmarking these with the certified stations on air quality. We have own city GIS department, which is managing and is responsible for many GIS data sets and data layers. We have a digital technical map of the city and many more. So it's really diverse, what concerns data. I have just some examples or thoughts on how we select the data. So as I mentioned, we try to find a new usage of existing data that we have in our possession, like the video analytics tools or the traffic detectors, which were typically used for managing traffic at the traffic lights. Now we are using these to inform policy decisions in traffic or transportation domain, but also to calibrate the traffic model, for example, for predicting future traffic. And we make this data open if that's possible. So that was, for example, the case of the traffic detectors data in Polyvisu. And we look for useful data from external providers, third parties, even private companies. So one example here, or we learn by doing indeed. So when we see something interesting, we try to go for it. We maybe invest some smaller money to experiment. That's what we did with telco data, and also recently with floating car data, which is an interesting data source from connected cars which share their location and speed through a mobile SIM card in the car. And we have access to such data here, which is provided in real time by 150,000 cars in the Czech Republic. So that's something that complements also the mobility-related data that we have. We also were experimenting recently with Cyclomedia data, which is Cyclomedia is a company that from their vehicles they capture panoramic photographs in the city, and they do the photogrammetric 3D measurements and create the 3D model with the detailed textures also out of that from the car. And we are now testing usage of this data to detect city property like traffic lights, signs, and posts, etc., to measure road quality, because the level of detail of this data is that high that you can use it also to identify some potholes or cracks, etc. And we on the rescue system will also experiment now with having this data source as a tool to assess whether they might access some locations or sites where they could measure in 3D how wide is the street or how high is certain bridge, etc., or where they to evaluate whether they can pass there with their trucks, for example. So that's one of just an example of such an experiment that we are currently occupied with. Another one is a project that has just started using the digital twin data into much more detailed digital twin model of a single street where an autonomous tram should be operated in the coming years, and bringing all these different data from different sensors and lidars in a dynamic traffic management tool. Which will allow to run the tram autonomously, but also to give priority to rescue service vehicles, for example. And this involves, of course, a lot of anti-collision systems and very complex traffic management tools. So that's another example or pilot that we are starting here now with the digital twin data on a lower level, let's say, than the whole city. Policy making challenges. So I've split these in two parts. First, on the, let's say, city managers level or city administrators level, who might quite often be concerned about the results of the data interpretation, so which might have impact on their work routines, and they are afraid of this change. So that's one of the barriers we face, that we try to explain the added value and how these new things, new data could help them in their work routines. And we support them also with the skills needed to analyze and interpret this data. So which is also quite often a skill that is missing for the city personnel. On the policymakers level, it's always about explaining the benefits to get their support, because that's something without which we can't really work or do these experiments and projects. How are the data going to help? So first of all, it helps us to analyze the current situation, to do the baseline analysis, and based on that, on the policy making level, to set strategies, milestones, and measurable goals for these, including some KPIs. In practical terms, in Duet and in previous projects, that means that we can experiment hands-on with new technologies and data sources. And such an experimentation always reveals new opportunities to apply certain technology further or in other domains, like we did in the S4All cities, where we are now using the digital twin and different simulation models and video analytics for crisis management purposes. And there will be a huge exercise at the football stadium simulating some terrorist attacks with a lot of volunteers next year. And then, for example, another example is use of the virtual reality tools in grammar schools recently, a project that like the kids now are able to fly through the solar system planets using virtual reality, or be part of a volcano eruption or tsunami with using virtual reality. So that's again something that actually comes from these projects, and then we try to move it further to another domain, in this case education here. This brings me to another or short view in the tools that we have in Duet and that we consider a biggest added value. That's the interaction of simulation models in different domains. So as I mentioned, we start with the traffic domain or traffic model, where we can simulate, for example, closure of a certain road, which is the case here. Now on this traffic model visualization, I've closed this bridge on the main street, and in red I see the main detours of traffic after this bridge might be closed. And then instantaneously, basically in the Duet Twin, the air quality model is being recalculated. And as you see in the blue dots, that's the decrease or actually increase in air quality, lower levels of the dust particles on this street that have been closed, and on the other side, the increase of those pollutants on the other roads around. That's the 2D view, and we also have a 3D view of the same data set. And then there is also a noise model connected to that, which allows to simulate the noise levels caused by such a traffic change, closure of a bridge in this case. So that's the noise one. Apart from that, we have different traffic visualizations or tools to analyze traffic in 2D and 3D view, both from the sensor data and the floating car data that I mentioned earlier. And we can simulate future traffic of different scenarios, like building a new road, closure a road, building a new shopping mall, for example, which generates certain traffic, and see what happens with the traffic in the whole city after such a change is being implemented. So that's something that is used for policy decisions. I'm coming to a final slide. So that's the expected impact of all these projects and benefits for society. So of course, it's always improving the current situation in the given domain, as I was demonstrating, for example, in the mobility one, but also others. But it's not just that. We have here the whole strategy to support innovation and startups in the Pilsen region, trying to attract young people in these domains and engage them actively. So there is a whole department in the city who is occupied with this and doing a great job in engaging students and data enthusiasts in these projects also. So it's a community building around those digital twin projects. On the policymaking level, of course, the impact is on having or supporting informed and data-driven policymaking towards sustainable city. And overall, of course, we are trying to make our citizens happy here, make the quality of life in Pilsen better, and in general make the city of Pilsen a better place to live. This is it. Thank you for your attention. I was slightly longer than I should have been, but I hope we'll manage. And
you have perfect timing, Jerry, as always. I realised I didn't introduce you properly at the start. So just to let everyone know, Jerry, he's a senior consultant at IS Practice. He's one of the best project managers I think I've ever met in this field. And alongside this work, He's also the CEO and co-founder of InnoConnect, which is a software startup which helped the city of Pilsen, get started on their data visualization journey. And it's been really fascinating to see here how Pilsen sort of started small with a few use cases, and which enabled them to build up, to the digital twin experience, which is now enabling them to really focus in detail again at local aspects. So thank you for that, and we'll be asking Jury some questions towards the end of the session. So next up we have Anna Georgieva from Sofia Municipality. She's part of the Digitalization, Innovation and Economic Development Department for the city of Sofia. She's participated in many digital transformation projects for Sofia. She's integral to a lot of the smart city strategy work there, and she's going to talk to us today about the work of Policy Cloud. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Susie. It's a pleasure to be here today and speak about Sofia Municipality and Sofia's participation in the Policy Cloud project. I will start my presentation in a second. Moment. Yes, here it is. Can you see my full screen now? Can everybody see?
Yes, I think you just need to put it onto slideshow.
All right. Full screen now? Slideshow? All good? So first of all, I'll start with a very brief overview of the Policy Cloud project. It's a 3-year project of the European...
Sorry, Anna. Sorry, yes? Anna, I can't see the full screen.
All right. Technical issues. Sorry, I'll start again and I'll try to share my screen again with you. Can you see the full screen now?
Not yet.
It's not the full screen.
I don't know what's going on because I can see my full screen.
Maybe
it's not in presentation mode. It's in design mode.
It is, it is. Oh, sorry.
Well, at the bottom right of the PowerPoint window, you can...
Yes, that's what I'm pressing.
Yeah.
You can see me press it, but when it's a full screen for me, but I think you don't see it.
Well, no worries, we can see your screen clear enough.
It's okay now? All right. So I shall start. Without any further ado, first of all, I'll tell you a little bit about the Policy Cloud project and then about Sofia Municipality and Sofia Municipality's participation in it. As I already started, Policy Cloud is a 3-year project by the European Commission with 15 partners from 9 different countries focused on the development of reusable models and different analytical tools that would allow cities and a various group of stakeholders to turn the raw data, the new gold, the new petrol of the world, to be turned into valuable and actionable knowledge toward efficient policymaking. From a city perspective, the cities are one of the biggest generators of data, and they're starting more and more to make use of this data in order to make more data-based decision-making and policy-making to benefit the quality of life and the environment for the citizens. That's why such tools as Policy Cloud that allow cities, and not only cities, to provide this data and then receive actionable insights in an easy and understandable way to facilitate this policy making is such of importance, and we're very, very happy for having the opportunity to be joining this project. An added value of the development of the tool is that it involves a wide variety of stakeholders and is an ongoing process of co-creation. So here we have research and academia, policymakers and public administration, a part of which is also the Digitalization, Innovation and Economic Development Department as representatives of Sofia Municipality, tech and cloud providers, communication and dissemination partners, and of course, legal and ethics, because the legal framework and the ethical aspects of cloud usage and data usage is another very important aspect. Just in a brief, Policy Cloud.
Just a second, your slides are not moving either.
That's
so
very strange.
maybe I can share my screen with your slides and you just take me through.
All right, I have actually added 2 new slides, but maybe then let's maybe stick with your presentation. I don't know what's happening.
No worries. I can share my slides. I can share my screen, and you just talk me through the next slides.
That's good.
Just tell me where to start.
I think it should be slide 4. Yes.
The floor is yours. Thanks, Anna.
Thank you very much. So Policy Cloud will focus on delivering 4 key aspects. First of all, integrated cloud-based environment, different technologies for policy optimization, and interlinked data sets, of course, to policy development toolkits, and interoperable reusable models and analytical tools. Next slide, please. Here you can see an overview of some of the key components of the solution. And due to the technical problems and the fact that we are running out of time, I would really advise you to check the Policy Cloud project on the official site Policy Cloud EU, where you can see very pretty detailed materials on the different aspects of the tech solution. Next slide, please. So some of the key impacts are, of course, supporting citizen different decision makers into using data for their policies, to facilitate interoperability, reusability, and scalability, to have a social-centric and human-centric approach, to promote data-driven innovation, and of course, to boost the data-driven economy. Next slide, please. Policy Cloud has 4 pilot cases from 4 countries: Bulgaria, Spain, the UK, and Italy, focusing on different aspects of their policy making, with Sofia focusing on urban policy making and using crowdsourced data for the optimization and development of the local city environment. Next slide, please. All of these use cases and the tool itself will benefit from the capabilities of the European Open Science Cloud. Next slide, please. Now, I'll give you a little bit of information about Sofia's pilot use case and where are we up to now. Just a little bit of context. Sofia is the 14th largest city in the European Union with over 1.7 million citizens, unofficially with close to 2. Sofia is also the biggest city in Bulgaria, its main economic, innovative, digital, cultural, educational hub. And it's very important for the city to keep this ongoing process of adapting to the modern challenges and providing the best possible quality of life for its citizens. Next slide, please. So through our involvement in Policy Cloud, we'll focus on urban policy, as I already mentioned. We'll use crowdsourced data and we'll test it in 4 pilot scenarios related to road infrastructure and transport, environment and air quality, with air quality also being related to transport, waste collection and disposal, transport and parking, cleanliness of public spaces, and violation of public order. We selected these topics based on a research about the key issues for the citizens of Sofia, and also by a detailed analysis of the crowdsourced data we use. And I'll tell you a little bit more about it now. Next slide, please. Next slide, please.
Hi, Anna. Yeah.
It doesn't change.
Seems I have the same.
I think you have jumped.
Perfect.
Yeah,
yes.
That's the one. So we're going to combine different data sets and enlarge the base we have as more and more data sets become available. But currently we have 2 main sources of data. First of all is Sofia Municipality's Citizens Contact Center, also known as Call Sofia. Since 2014, the citizens of Sofia have different channels to immediately inform the city about non-urgent deviations in the urban environment, be it a broken tree or a cat on a tree, God forbid a fire, a problem with the road infrastructure. They can contact the city via 24/7 telephone hotline. They can use the desktop version and also an application to inform the city. And that's one of the data sets we used. And the 6 scenarios I just mentioned to you were also the most often mentioned categories and signals when citizens contact the city. The other one is Sofia Municipality's air quality measurement stations, which are positioned all across the city and provide the city and a wide range of stakeholders, because they're publicly accessible, with information about the quality of life in the city. Another very, very important topic, not only for Sofia, but for many cities across Europe and the world as well. Next slide, please. As I already mentioned, all of the scenarios will use the data from Call Sofia, with our second scenario dedicated to air quality and environment, also allowing for cross-analysis with the sensors data. What we'll do is analyze the data by category, type, territory, how it's spread across different districts of Sofia, so that the city could be enabled to identify different problems, issues, and behavioral trends, and based on that, adapt and modify its policies, and why not create new ones. Next slide, please. Yes. Together with the technical partners from Policy Cloud, we are currently working on the development of our 2 scenarios, the first one being road infrastructure and the second one being air quality. Road infrastructure is one of the key aspects for citizens' everyday life, and will be able to carry out a detailed analysis and provide visualizations of the territorial distribution of the signals, depending on their categories, the type of signals, the areas where they occurred, the districts where they occurred, major transport roads, and so on. Next slide, please. And with regards of air quality, again, we'll carry out a detailed analysis based on the Call Sofia signals and the data from Sofia Municipality's air quality measurement stations, with information of the level of particles, humidity, change in air quality over time, and so on. Next slide, please. What we aim to achieve via these 2 scenarios is, of course, identify the key problems and the key areas where these problems, or let's say challenges, are located related to road infrastructure and air quality. And that's something that we're going to do also with regards with the other scenarios that are yet to come, including transport. We're having a workshop in the beginning of next week with our local stakeholders, including our colleagues from the Transport Department of Sofia Municipality and other municipal enterprises working in the field of transport in Sofia, in order to gain their feedback and ideas on how to further enlarge the scenario we're currently working on. Of course, adopt or modify adequate policy making, facilitate better control, identify tendencies, and of course, validate the already existing policies and investigate how can we create new ones. Next slide, please. I would like to stress here that urban policy making is an ongoing co-creation process. And for us, it's important to gain the insights of as many different stakeholders as possible, starting with various groups of stakeholders within Policy Cloud that I mentioned, the collaboration with the different departments of Sofia Municipality. There are 11 departments. And with regards to these scenarios, we're closely working with the Transport Department and the Ecology Department, of course, the local ecosystem, and here we speak academia, and universities, different associations, non-government sector, of course, the business itself, and the citizens, because they're closer closest to the challenges they're facing, and they can provide the best and most detailed insights about the issues that they are currently facing and how the city could help them solve those challenges. I think that these are all of the slides that you have, Marique. No further slides in this version, right?
No, this is the last one.
All right, then I'll just say a couple of words without the slides on. As already mentioned, cities are the biggest generators of data, and as they are also generators of challenges, they should be generators for solutions. For Sofia Municipality as a city, and maybe here I would like to mention a couple of other examples from Sofia, not only related to our policy cloud participants, it's important to use this data as actively as possible and to exchange good practices and ideas on policies with other cities. Something that we're currently working on, and it's also in synergy with our participation in Policy Cloud, is the work on the digital twin of Sofia together with Gate Institute, which is part of Sofia Municipality. The first simulations that we're doing are in one of the district municipalities in Sofia, because Sofia is divided into different districts, 24. To be exact, and the first simulations are related exactly to transport, mobility, and air quality, and how to better plan the city. We have, by the way, Gate Institute are also supporting us in our participation in the Policy Cloud project. We're having an innovation sandbox, which encourages the local ecosystem to develop their own solutions for the different challenges in the city. And again, mobility is an important aspect here. Sofia has its own strategy for digital transformation of the city, which outlines the key aspects and the key projects that are to be implemented in the coming years. And here, transport again, and cloud solutions, and smart and intelligent urban policymaking, e-governance, smart projects, collaboration with the local ecosystem, and international collaboration are key aspects. All that in synergy with our participation in Policy Cloud. Some of the big projects that we as a city are going to work on in the upcoming years is, of course, the creation of a data platform and data lake. We're already started the work on an open data policy, upcoming work on integrated mobility platform, and a car sharing platform. The more data we generate as a city, the more data we will be also able to include in the Policy Cloud project, and this way further facilitate the policymaking in Sofia. I also spoke a little bit more than I was supposed to, but if you have any further questions or comments, I'll be glad to answer them. Thank you very much. And sorry for the technical issues, but live streaming.
We're all learning about different interfaces. I'm illiterate in every kind of conference system, video system that there is, so please don't worry. So that was fascinating to see how you're using cloud to help build capacity within Sofia. Like Pilsen, it's really interesting to see how you're taking data and looking at it, existing data, looking at it in different ways to see how it can be applied to different areas to solve challenges. So I'm sure there'll be lots of questions towards the end of the session. So now, last but not least, we have the AI for Public Policy representative, who is Alessandro Amigoni. He works for GFT, which is an IT engineering consultancy working on the future of business and industry. He's got a lot of specialization in the blockchain, digital identity arena, and he's going to take us through the experience of Cyprus with the holistic and accessible transport platform. Alessandro, over to you.
Thanks, Susie, and good morning to everybody. Could you see the video? Because it's black for me.
Not yet for me.
Okay. So I share my screen. Could you see the slides in presentation mode?
We can.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. Thanks. Okay. Thanks. AI for Public Policy is a project financed by the European Commission. GFT is coordinating the project, and the project involves 70 partners from different countries. One of the pilot of the goal of AI for Public Policy is to help policy making with the use of AI tools in order to implement evidence-based and citizen-centric policy. One of the pilot of the project is the pilot about the mobility in the Nicosia municipality. The partners involved are the Nicosia municipality, Vilabs, and Novoville. The pilot is on effective policies for holistic mobility and accessibility, and which are the drivers and motivation for this pilot from the citizens' point of view. The goal is to offer a different and integrated transport options to citizens and assist them in optimizing the personal mobility in line and real time in order to obtain the best road in to reach a target between different mobility possibilities. From the municipality point of view, the target is optimizing the transport management within the city, and also optimizing the cost and the sustainability, so reducing the traffic and the pollution. The holistic mobility and accessibility platform that the pilot wants to create will target different kind of mobility types, and the Nicosia small buses network, the parking places around Nicosia, and of course bicycles and e-cars. So the objective is to use the AI tools to analyze this different kind of data and coming from the different mobility type, and enable the citizens to use different transport modalities in a unique way, using an app or a physical card, and this can permit the municipality to collect also all the data related to the different kind of mobilities and analyze them. And the end objective is to provide municipality to the tools to create policy that maximize the impact of the integration of this different kind of mobility, and reduce the traffic and the pollution. Which is the artificial intelligence impact on the mobility? The AI tools permit us to analyze the data, collect and analyze the data, and learn about the data collected through different kind of tools like the decision tree, machine learning, or deep learning, and also reason about this data using knowledge representation, knowledge reasoning, and decision making. So we can collect, analyze data, and provide the policymakers the recommendation to take the correct decision and act providing the best policy for the mobility. The platform is based on data collected from the different human mobility services listed before, and the goal is to extract from this data evidence-based policy. To do this, the AI for public policy provide to policymaker provide the platform with an AI based environment, the virtualized policy management environment, that permit to the policymaker to analyze data and start building evidence-based policy through AI tools that permit to learn and reason on the data and obtain policy models to predict new result from the new data. Explainable AI techniques that permit to explain the policy models obtained by the AI algorithm to the policymaker in order to explain the result of the AI algorithm that normally are black box that produce a model that we can apply to data and obtain the prediction, but with the explainable techniques, we can explain in a user-friendly way to the policymaker why the models is the result of the AI algorithm, and also ask to policymaker some question to optimize the models, changing the parameters based on the policymaker responses. Then the platform offers the opinion mining tools to consider and analyze citizens' feedback. So using sentiment analysis techniques, for example, we can ask citizens feedback on the policy models and analyze them in order to have also the citizen point of view. And finally, a semantic engine that permit to find existing policy models and use it. This is the AI for public policy process, which the policymaker could, using the WPME and the specific toolkit, can create processes to analyze the data, selecting AI algorithm, and obtaining models that could use to new evaluation data to obtain prediction, and also other results like what if statement, in order to analyze different possibilities to apply for a specific policy. These results are explained to the policy maker with the explainable AI, and also are provide to the citizens in order to collect their feedback through, for example, surveys or a chatbot, or even from the social media. The citizens' feedback and also the input from the policymaker coming from the answer to the questions of explainable AI can optimize the process, providing new element to the algorithm in order to optimize the model and obtain a new result more more suitable to the policymaker needs and also the citizens' feedback. The pilot key targets are, of course, increase citizen satisfaction to use the public transport, and this could be obtained using the citizen-centric approach of AI for public policy to improve the transportation sustainability, reducing traffic and the CO2 emission, for example, and reduce the transport operational cost for the municipality, optimizing the integration between the different kind of mobility services. And this experience will pave the way towards a new era of mobility policy and citizens. So that's all.
Thank you for that. It's fascinating to see how you're focused on delivering sort of personalized services and the integration of AI to do that, especially as one of the recommendations mentioned earlier in the plenary session was around, embracing AI, but looking at biases in the data and, considering all the ethical considerations around that. So it'd be great to learn a bit more and, see the results as it comes out of your project. So this takes us on to our plenary session where all the panel members can put their cameras on, please. We'd like to open up the floor to questions. But I think before that, I just want to ask a quick question myself. It's great to see all the capacity building work that each pilot, each city is doing. From personal experience, I know how hard it is to engage policymakers and convince them of the benefits of this approach. As Julie said, they can be a bit wary sometimes of changes to existing processes. So it'd be great to understand a bit more how you work with policymakers in the project to help them understand and use and even co-create your solutions. Julie, can we start with you, please?
Yeah, thanks, Susie. Indeed, that's one of the most important topics to engage these important persons. And yeah, we currently already have a support at the city council level, but it hasn't been like that since beginning. And when we started with those projects, it was a bit like bottom-up process that we started experimenting with things and then started showing results. Actually, that's what works, that you already have something and you can demonstrate how it works, and then you start getting their buy-in, and yeah, the project or the results you do start being on their radar, and then it starts popping up at different occasions. They are talking, presenting, etc. So of course there always needs to be the benefits for the city, for the citizens, or improving some processes. So that's how we try to argument our cases when coming with new ideas on projects or data sources, etc. So always starts from what is this going to bring to you, or to the city processes, or to citizens, or better living in the city, etc. So, and I should say this is a long-term run. It really, we have been doing these things for quite some years, and in the beginning the support wasn't that obvious as it is now.
Okay, I like that. This sort of show and tell and get them excited about the possibilities. Anna, what was your experience?
I'll fully agree with what Irji just said. And again, it's an ongoing process of co-creation, but it all starts with raising awareness. First of all, a city must understand and the broader administration of itself must understand the importance of a given topic, let's say cloud solutions or open data, because there are many, many different departments and there are many different structures. If we take Sofia, there are over 56 municipal enterprises and 11 departments that are involved in very different aspects of urban development. So part of our task, let's say as a digitalization and innovation and economic development department, is to raise the awareness of different stakeholders, starting from the municipality, if necessary on national level, and of course the local ecosystem on these issues, and to communicate it in an understandable, visual, adaptive way. Of course, having a high political will and understanding for transformation is also a key factor here. And last but not least, being close to the people. And by the people, I mean the citizens and the business ecosystem, because in the end of the day, no matter whether we're administrators or scientists or businessmen, we're all citizens, and there is a need for an ongoing communication. And of course, partnerships and collaborations with other cities, also with the great help of such international projects as Duet, Policy Cloud, and so on, are very, very valuable here as well.
A brilliant effort for our cluster. so thank you. And Alessandro, what about yourself?
We organized several co-creation workshops in order to collect the use cases and user stories, and also feedbacks from policymaking on the project goals and approach. And of course, new co-creation workshop will be planned to share the impact of this platform as this new kind of policymaking on the actual processes and the organizational changes that have to be made. So we will create also some blueprints about the organizational change. And finally, in a second phase of the project, we'll have to show to policymakers how they can easily use this platform for their work, and providing them through the explainable AI techniques and also the AutoML techniques that we want to develop in order to help the policymaker to use this platform and provide the policymaker the suggestion to use the correct AI algorithm or mapping correctly the data. So we'll have to use these techniques to provide them an easy way to use the platform and not have an hard work to use this new approach.
Yeah, looking at all three projects, I can see toolkits and capacity building tools have been brought, into the mix from the start. So it's great to see that focus on engagement and support that's there. Does anybody in the audience have any questions for any member of our panel? If you have, please raise your hand or switch your camera on, and we'll be able to come to you. Okay, sure, not anybody?
Susie, can the panelists have questions for the audience?
Yes, the panelists can.
So
it works both ways. We can be interactive.
Then I would like to ask the audience, if I may, because most of us are facing similar challenges globally, and it's absolutely understandable because the world is a big interconnected place. And although we're all living in different countries and cities, we're tackling similar problems and issues. So according to you, dear audience, so which are the biggest challenges that you're facing currently in the sphere of mobility from your perspective? So if you're a city, in your city, if you're a business, or if you just want to share your opinion as a citizen, it would be lovely to hear.
Great question. Who'd like to start?
Yeah, I can start because with Pilsen we have been involved quite a lot in that recently. So I think the current trend is the micro mobility and getting the people to actually do their daily business shoppings and other things locally without necessarily driving somewhere. That's, and using different means of transport. So the more sustainable ones, be it doing things by walking, of course, cycling, or shared means of transport, or public transport, or whatever. Just to get the people out of the cars and out of the streets in the cars. So I think that's, and motivating them to do that, to see the benefits of that, not only for the city, the environment, but also for themselves. I think that's the challenge, and the current trend also in the domain. And cities, what cities can do, and what we try to do, is actually to map the situation, to get information about what means of transport people use, how they move from where to where and what times. And having this understanding is of course important to start any changes in their behavior, to motivate people doing things differently.
Have you noticed much change in micro-mobility, I guess, since the pandemic? I guess you would have done with lockdowns. And do you know if this trend is continuing?
I think it is a lot. And if I speak personally for myself as a citizen, I really do a lot of things locally. I don't drive when not necessary, when possible, and doing the local commutes. I always cycle in the city, even though if it's raining or snowing like today here. But that works. It's just changing your mindset. There are no excuses.
Can I also jump in and say something? I think this also depends on the mentality that the citizens have, and on how we teach them since they are little kids. Because, for example, they had this initiative at my daughter's school to cycle to school, or to go with their scooters, or to walk. I mean, to try to encourage them not to use the cars, and as Giri was saying, whether it's snowing or raining, or get well dressed and go to school. But it also depends on the municipalities, because they have to provide the infrastructure. For example, you need pavement. You cannot put the kid on the road. While I do know from personal experience that in some cities, and for example in some roads in Athens, the sidewalk is not quite friendly, because there are trees in the middle, so it will be very difficult to go with a buggy, or with a scooter, or with a bicycle. So it would be very nice to hear the opinions of the participants that are also from different countries. So I think it depends. It starts from the little one until and we continue with older generations. But you have to teach the children, but also provide to everybody the infrastructure. And this means to involve all kinds of stakeholders, regular citizens, policymakers, municipalities. So I think everybody should be involved in this.
100% right. And I know we're always seeking that holy grail, the quadruple helix in stakeholder engagement and co-creation activities. Alessandro, do you have any comments about your biggest challenge in Nicosia?
In general, for the project, the biggest challenge is to provide an easy way for policymaking, for using this AI-based platform for policymaking. So to simplify the access to the AI world, to the AI tools, to the policymakers through the explainable AI techniques and the AutoML techniques, because we'll have to help the policymaker to use these tools. Otherwise, they will not use these tools because they are too much difficult to use. We'll have to simplify the access to the AI possibilities.
That's an important point, I think, because AI is traditionally seen as being a sort of a scientific tool, used by researchers or used by technologists, and its application in government is still in very sort of early stages, and I'm sure there's a lot of I don't want to use the word distrust, but a lot of wariness, I guess, around adopting AI due to lots of scare stories. I'm sure people still think of robots.
Yes, the VPME platform
coming to take over decisions.
The VPME platform is think to create to join the policymaking and the policymaker and the scientist world. So because also the scientists could use the platform in order to create some policy models that the policymaker could use, but even the policymaker can use the platform to create their own policy models, and so they can do this in an easy way. This is the biggest challenge.
Okay. Well, we're going to have to go back to the main session in a few minutes. But maybe a last question to all our panelists. What do you think is going to be the biggest change in terms of tools, technology, in your department, in your city in the next sort of 5 years? Where do you see your projects heading? Maybe Jerry, can we start with you, please?
Yeah, for Pearson, I think I'll mention what I already included in my presentation. It's now moving from the simulation models, which are on the high level picture of the whole city. We are now trying to apply it in, let's say, autonomous vehicles or autonomous tram in our cases. So it's moving to this autonomous mobility partly, and this is not going to happen in 5 years for sure. So it's maybe an even longer perspective, but that's a trend and activity that we are trying to follow up here in a longer term, and maybe in a bit shorter term. It's really the simulation models in different domains and interaction of these, and connecting different data sources to it, to calibrate it, having the data available in real time, etc. So that's maybe the 5-year horizon that you mentioned.
And that's fantastic to hear. I live in a small village, and I just see the benefits for autonomous vehicles for helping independent living. Just as one particular sort of benefit could make such a difference. So yes, Anna, yourself.
Well, I think that in terms of mobility, that there are 3 layers to be considered. The first layer is not so much dependent on the department I'm a part of, and it's related to the physical infrastructure. So again, improving roads, as Laura already said, give the citizens and more opportunities, let's say, to use their bikes or alternative modes of transport, shared transport, etc., improving the quality of the public transport in the city. It's something that Sofia is doing, and we're buying more and more low emission transportation and implementing shared transport. That's the first layer. The second layer, which where we are more directly involved, is of course digitalization. And here we speak about implementation of different digital solutions to facilitate and to make the use of public transport more user-friendly and easy. Here we speak about, let's say, mobile payments or use of sensors and cameras, of course, considering cybersecurity and personal data to optimize the transportation routes, the overall experience of the citizens, implementation of different platforms, mobility platforms, the use of data, and more active use and generation of data to improve transport. And in the long term, of course, I would say AI, the development of AI, with which also Irji said, and autonomous transportation, but maybe not in 5 years, but who knows?
Exactly. I like the idea of these different layers sort of driving the continuous innovation within the city. I can tell you think visually, just like we should be doing with the stakeholders. Alessandro, I guess final words to you.
I haven't more to say that Jiri and Anna already said. These are the changes that we think that we will be in the Nicosia for the pilot, but also in other cities that want to start creating policy based on the data, on the evidence-based results taken from the data. So more sensors, more integrated application that could help the citizens to use the different mobility services, and more use of the AI tools to extract from this lot of amount of data the result and the recommendations for optimizing the policy, and taking into account the citizens' feedback, because sometimes some policy have the goal that optimize to optimize some features, some part of the problem, but sometimes this not taking into account the citizens' perspective and the citizen feedback, and so this could generate unsatisfied citizens.
Brilliant. And just, I did say last words, but I lied. Just in one sentence from each of you, can you give us a recommendation to policymakers for evidence-based policy making? What do they need to get started in this area? Jiri?
I should say start small, start with small projects, maybe in a domain of your need or interest, and then you can gradually grow further.
Brilliant. Can definitely see that in the case of Pilsen. Anna?
Think big, don't be afraid to use data, start small, and co-create as much as you can.
Co-creation, yes, 100% agree with that. And just before we go, Alessandro, one sentence?
Yes,
what recommendation would you give?
Don't be afraid on the new possibilities of the change. Consider the new techniques, the new AI tools as an opportunity to optimize the actual policy and to as an help for extract and receive recommendation to optimize the public policy.
Perfect. Thank you. So we've got start small, build gradually. Don't be afraid of co-creation or data, and see the opportunities presented by AI for policy.